Welcome to workshop number 4. I'm going to kick us off and get us started. And I know that our colleagues will be joining us across the next 5 to 10 minutes or so as we get started. We've kind of noticed that as a pattern. Before we begin, I'd like to, or as we begin and as part of this workshop, it's funny how we say that, and as we begin or before we begin, but actually as part of this workshop, as part of our work together, as part of our commitment to connect with each other, I want to acknowledge the Bunurong people who are the traditional custodians of the land on which I'm joining you from today. I recognize their continuing connection to and their stewardship as well, which is an important word in terms of their care and attention to the lands they're connected to the waters and communities, and to learning that's taking place in those places. I pay my respects to their elders, past, present, and those who are emerging. I also want to extend my acknowledgement to the lands where you're joining from today, to the places that you're in, to the communities that you're serving and you're acting as stewards for as well. And I extend my acknowledgement to the places that you're joining. We have an opportunity to connect. We have an opportunity to learn with each other, to hear from each other, to listen, to pay attention to the stories that we're bringing today. And I'm really looking forward to continuing to support your learning as a teacher, your professional development, your growth as a professional. And one of the other things I want to acknowledge, actually, right from the beginning of this session, is just all of your efforts to be here. I can see people joining us now as we kind of get started, but I want to acknowledge that. I want to acknowledge the effort that you are making to be in these sessions, to get things organized, to get the team together, to find a place in wherever you are to get sorted, to set up your equipment, to be able to listen, to be able to share. I'm really grateful that you're doing that. I'm thankful for that. I acknowledge that. So welcome to workshop number 4. Today is all about progress. Today is all about sharing where we're up to. And I'm just going to do a couple of reminders about what we need for this session to be successful. So first of all, your workbook is your anchor point. Remember, everything in there, workshop number 4, everything in there is our workshop. So I'll have that in front of me, and I'll work through that, and I'll show you some pages. So if you've got your workbook and you've got something to write with, whether that's on a screen, whether you've got your workbook on a screen or whether it's in paper, then so long as you've got that, then we can work together, and you'll be able to access the workshop. I'm going to continue to activate the WhatsApp group. So if there's anybody who has trouble, we're getting into a bit of a pattern. Now, this is the 4th time we've been doing this, so you'll know what to expect. If you drop out, your Wi-Fi just kicks off, or you can't see something, or you can't hear something, make sure you look in the WhatsApp group. Like, look at it and go, okay, that's where we're up to. That's what we're working on. So make sure that you've got your WhatsApp group on hand on your phone or something, so that you can keep track of where we are if your Wi-Fi drops out. Another thing I want to just point out to you, if you're on your own computer and you're able to kind of see the screen clearly, you might like to switch captions on, which is a helpful tool so you can read what I'm saying. So if you look at the bottom bar, there's a little box with CC, but I think you can also press the letter C on your keyboard, and that turns the captions on for you. So that's something that we can't do for everyone, but that's something that you can do for yourself. And you'll see, like by magic, the words will sprinkle along the bottom of the screen as people are talking. So hopefully that will be helpful. If you haven't introduced yourself in the chat and said you're here, then let's keep doing that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to remind us about some of our some of our working norms, some of the things that make a big difference to our work. I'm going to drop a little image in the chat of some of the things so I'm actually doing this in WhatsApp. So you know that we've got that going, but I'm going to keep my kind of image on me just for a second. So these are some of the things that make a big difference, okay? We talk about these things as learning protocols or working norms, you know, things that will make a big difference. And when you're coming together as a group to collaborate, you've got to think about these things. These are things that make a big difference. So be present. So focus as much as you can on the time that we've got. We have limited time working together. I want you to maximize that learning time. So try to focus as much as you can, be as present as you can. So try to, if you can limit the distractions, then great. Do what you can to be as focused as you can. Share the air. You can see some teams. I can see people working in the same space. If you're in a discussion, take your time to make sure other people are contributing and stepping up, sharing their ideas. Okay, so when we say share the air, it's like if there's one person who's taking up all the oxygen, taking up all the air, let's try to be able to kind of activate everyone in the room. Okay, so share the air. Hold your ideas lightly. So this one is all about receiving feedback. Now today we might receive some feedback. You might be saying to somebody today, this is where I've got up to with my work. This is the thing I've tried. This was the strategy I had to go at in my classroom. And you need to be open to feedback from other people. So that's what that means. Hold your ideas lightly. If you hold them too tight, then what happens is that we close off from feedback. We're not listening to ideas coming from other people. So I encourage you to hold your ideas lightly. The last one is about feedback. So giving feedback to other people. So you're in a team. Today, you're going to be doing some sharing and some discussion in your team. When someone shares something, I want you to think about how you as a responder or audience can be kind, specific, and helpful. I know that you're a kind bunch. I can tell. I can tell. I can see you. You're a kind bunch. But one of the things we need to be is often be really specific in our help. When we're not specific in our feedback, we're not helpful. I'm just flagging this as a great teaching point as well, like for working with our students. When you're not specific in your feedback, it's not helpful for your students. So be really precise in your feedback. Explain precisely the next step for your students. Don't be general, be precise. And this works for us too. When we're trying to improve our action research, try to be specific. Great to see some of the names coming through of people joining us. So these are our working norms. Hopefully this helped. These are our learning protocols. Hopefully this will help you understand what's expected of you during this session. I'm flying another flag for something else that's happening today. We're going to be doing some connection in our breakouts. Okay, so in about 20 minutes or so, when we get to that first breakout, we're going to be listening and talking to another team. What that means is that we're going to need to be able to speak clearly to a microphone or have a spokesperson ready. Okay, so please make sure that you have got somebody in your team ready to speak up, ready to share ideas, ready to speak on behalf of your group. But also make sure that you're ready to listen and you can hear. You're in a place where you can hear. The other thing that we often talk about, remember, is a keyboard captain with fast fingers. So we've got to make sure that we're going to have a little activity where you're going to type in the chat your responses. And so we're going to need people ready to do that too, okay? So this is me flagging to you that you need to be ready with your spokesperson to be able to listen and also with your keyboard captain. And I can see some National High School is already keyboard captaining in their welcome everybody who's joining us. Okay, well, you know what? It was so successful last time that Nicole and Sophie just couldn't help but ask me to keep going with the quiz. They said, Tom, you've just got to bring back the quiz. So we're going to start with a retrieval quiz. Now, this is something I started to talk to you about last time. Now, you might notice that I've secretly added in a teaching method in here to help you, okay? These are things that you can use with your students. So it's not really that secret, I'm telling you. This is an opportunity for you to think about how do you do like a warm-up, like a first 5-10 minutes. So you've got like a double session or a 50-minute kind of slot. How do you help your students be ready? How do you help them to consolidate what they know? And so we're going to start with a quiz. And so the first, our first sort of 10 or 15 minutes is all going to be about recapping some of the work that we have done. Now, there's a couple of places where you're going to see this. This is in your workbook, page number 4. I am also going to put it up on the screen for us. And I'm just going to then quickly explain how we're going to do this. So you're going to need something to write with, and you're going to need to access and remember things, which is always good as well, isn't it? So these are going to quiz us on our last 3 weeks of work. So I'm going to share the screen here. And this is something that you can do. It's really easy to do. And maybe after the quiz is done, I'll just explain to you like some of the things I kind of did to set it up. So our quiz today, slightly different than last time. So you're not going to get Quizmaster Tom with like his cards and things, but we are going to have a retrieval grid. When I say retrieval, what I'm saying is we're going to retrieve that information from our memory. We're going to pull that back from what we remember. If you look at the grid here on your screen, you can see that there's different colors. The red questions are from workshop 1, and they come with 3 points. Whew, maximum points. Yes, there's points this time. Blue questions, workshop 2. So that was only, a couple of weeks ago, 2 points. And obviously last week we had workshop 3, so just 1 point. So what I'm actually doing is I'm saying here, you get more points if you can kind of like go all the way back 3 or 4 weeks, try and remember something. You've got 9 different questions. And the way that we're going to do this one is I'm just going to give you some time to get as many points as you can. Okay. I'm just going to quickly read through anything that doesn't make sense. I'm just checking. So top left, which part of the action research cycle are we on now? So right now. Name some way. The middle question, that one, name all 7 STEM principles. All 7. Wow. You're going to have to see if you can name all of them. What is important to connect to STEM careers and, sorry, why is it important? A why question here. To connect to STEM careers and role models. Why? So you'll see some questions from last time. Why are micro teaching strategies ideal? It's still useful to have that same question because we're going to try and consolidate that knowledge. Name the 2 different types of data we can collect. All right, I've chatted too much. You can see there. You have got, so I'm going to put this also in the chat for you as well, in the WhatsApp, so you can see the questions in there. I'm going to put 5, I'm going to give you 4 minutes to see, 4 minutes on the clock, see how many points you can get in 4 minutes time, okay? So let's have a bit of Uptown Funk or something. All right, I'm going to pop these in the WhatsApp group whilst you're answering them. You might want to write them down on your paper. You've got 4 minutes to get as many points as you can. Time is up. Okay, everyone, what I'm going to do now is just going to work through some of the different answers. You might want to just self-mark some of these. The key thing to do is just to notice if there's something that you're not sure about or it was just you're a little bit out. You can always go back to that, maybe put a little star next to it, go back to some of those resources and check out what they are. So first of all, answers, and then I'll just take a minute afterwards to talk a little bit about this type of activity at the beginning of your lessons, okay? So first of all, answers. Let's have a little look. what should we go for? So let's start with the first sort of column. So which part of the action research cycle are we on now? We are on the acting and observing part. So this acting, observing, reflecting part. So the final two parts, we're still in that acting mode. Remember to check in with your cycle. If you're not sure where we are, just making sure you can say, yeah, this is the part that we're on. Name some ways to collect data for our project. Observation, surveys, interviews, photos, video, tests. There's loads of different ways that we can accept and sort of gather data from our different strategies. Okay, I'm down here on the first row. Why is it important to connect to STEM careers and role models? So this was from workshop 2 with our colleagues from Education Services Australia. When we do this, it encourages girls to consider STEM careers. So they have a good understanding about what they can get involved in. When we connect to careers and we connect to STEM role models, when we show girls those role models, we bring that into the curriculum, it increases motivation and interest. All right, at the middle at the top, I hope you're doing okay. You know, what was there? There's 6 points on offer on that first column. Wow, I wonder how many people got 6 out of 6. What are impact indicators? So this was something from last time that we talked about. What are impact indicators? The answer was they are signs that the strategy that you're trying is having an impact. So it's a signal to you that something is changing. Impact indicators, it does what it says, you know, it indicates to you there's an impact. All right, the big one in the middle, name all, I'm gonna have to zoom in because the text is tiny on this one because it's got 7 different. Let's see if you can get all 7. Let's have a run through these 7. Remember, this is our starting point for our action research. So becoming more familiar with these is always going to be helpful. So let's have a look at these 7. Create a gender neutral learning environment. We were talking about resources and textbooks and posters, those types of things. Ensure everyone gets hands-on. We were talking, I think Ethel was talking last time about microscopes and making sure people, when we're in that experimentation mode, we're all hands-on. Design learning to embrace context and problem solving. Connect learning to careers and role models. Engineer collaborative learning. Provide choice and creative opportunities to demonstrate understanding and encourage a growth mindset. I would say that you would get a bonus point for getting all 7, but I am not offering that. There's no prizes, no bonus point. All right, I'm stingy. I'm a stingy quiz master. Why are micro teaching strategies ideal for action research? Well, they're quick and easy to try out. They take little time, resources, and effort to implement. Let's keep going. Last 3 questions before we wrap this little quiz up. What can students use a mind map for? Well, we showed you some examples last time. A mind map is useful to organize their thinking and show what they know. So that's something that's going to be helpful for you. That's actually a creative way for them to demonstrate their understanding. So instead of just writing it, they might create a mind map. Name the 4 parts of our action research cycle. All right, so the 4 different parts: reflecting, designing, acting, observing. So we reflect on our practice, we design something that will change, we act on that design, we look at what has changed. Okay, remember that's a cycle, so it keeps going round and round. Name the 2 different types of data we can collect. So there was 2, it's qualitative, which is all about comments, and quantitative, which is numbers. And so taking data, they're counting things, quantity, quality. There we go. So there's our quiz. This is a retrieval grid, okay? And instead of having workshop 1, 2, or 3 at the bottom, you could have last lesson, last week, last term, like last unit. And you could have a different time at the bottom when you ask your questions from. And all you have to do is to write some questions down that your students will be responding to, and maybe just give them a 5-minute window at the beginning of your lesson where they come in, it's somewhere displayed where they can see it, and they have to choose the questions that they want to answer. And so it's some nice choice built in, and they can guide their own learning. There's lots of different ways that we can do this. Remember, our students will begin forgetting things as soon as we teach them. So I'll say that again. Our students begin to forget as soon as we teach them. So it's an important thing to try to change this. This is why we've had this in the last couple of weeks, just to remind you to build back some ideas, to go back to them. It's like a loop, isn't it? We go all the way back and try to remember. And trying to remember, retrieving that information is really helpful to commit that into our memory. So when we have to retrieve and keep reminding ourselves of this, it really commits it to memory, which is a really good thing. So that's our quiz for today. We'll maybe have a little, maybe I'll kind of demonstrate another technique that we can use next time to help you remember and focus in on some of the core information that we do have. I'm going to just switch over to our workbook. And so we're going to be moving into talking about, we're going to be moving into our first reflection activity and our first breakout. So I'm flagging with you in a few minutes time, you're going to be moving into a breakout group. I said to you about the beginning of the session, spokespeople need to be ready. Keyboard captains need to be ready. You know that you're going to be in a breakout soon, sharing some of your progress. So before we get into that, let's talk about why we are here and the key elements of today's workshop. Let's just close a couple of screens on my side. And I'm just going to drop in the, I'm dropping in the WhatsApp chat, not that one, because that's a different one. There's like hundreds of them nowadays. The 3 keys to our workshop. Today's workshop is focusing on 3 key things. We're going to share our progress, the progress in your action research. So you need to be ready to share. You're going to adjust your plans, okay? So I mean that you're going to listen and maybe make some new plans. We haven't finished our work. We're just going to adjust it slightly. And then there's going to be some time for reflection as well. So making sure that you know where we're going. These are our 3 things that we're going to be doing, and the activities that we've got are going to help us to do those 3 things. Share your progress, adjust your plans, and some time for reflection. Okay, so let's skip over some of this. You've all got this in your workbook if you want to spend some time looking at. There's the grid. Remember the grid? That's hopefully been helpful for you, your planning template. And I'm going to call out the coaches in the room. If you might have a coach at your school working with you, our coaches have got some extra resources so they can help you as well. So I'm calling out our coaches just to be ready to support your colleagues as we move into this next activity. We are going to be talking through and reflecting on the progress that we've made so far. So the last time I saw you, I was introducing this. The last time I saw you, we were doing some planning. Since then, I hope that you've been able to act, you've been able to do something with it, you've been able to make a start with trying that micro teaching strategy in your classroom. So that's small change. And what we're going to do now is we're going to set up our little breakout and talk about what the activity is. So I'm just going to skip ahead to here. So again, let's have a, let me just check I've got the right one to drop in the chat. So this is all about progress reflection 1. This is page 12 in your workbook. Again, WhatsApp chat, you also have the information. So you know what we're doing. This is where we're up to. In our breakout session, you're going to be answering and talking with your partner school or another school about 4 questions. And that's what we've got here on step number 1. So what is your focus? Which inclusive principle? So you're going to say to your team, you're going to write down, this is what I'm focusing on. What micro strategy have you tried? So you're going to talk about the actual activity that you've done, the specific thing that you've done, whether that's changing the layout in your classroom or trying some questioning tactics or whatever it might be, encouraging hands-on. You're then going to explain what impact have you noticed? This is a key question for us. So this is the key one. Out of these 4, this is an important one. What impact have you noticed? So you've tried something, you've changed something. What's happened? And then the 4th question, what are you going to do next? What's your next step? And some of you might be going, oh, well, I need to collect more data. I need to test it some more. I need to go and try this in a different class. Maybe some of you still haven't got started yet. Whatever situation you're in, you can talk about some of these questions in your breakout. Okay. So your first job really is to think about these questions, reflect on these. Step number 2, in your breakout session, you're going to share those reflections. So you're going to be put together and you're going to be talking through with people those 4 key questions. And then it just says there, step number 3, add some extra notes to your planning. We haven't finished yet. We're still going. We're still figuring out what to do. If there's an idea that pops in, if there's an extra change that you want to make, if there's some more planning that you need to do, you should be continuing to plan on your grid and making those adjustments. Okay, so let's just scoot down one. There's examples in your workbook. I've done lots for you just to kind of help make sure you're clear about what this activity is all about. But these are our 4 questions. I'm going to leave them there on this screen so you can see that this is what we're focused on right now. Nicole, how are we set for our breakout? So I hope it looks like we've got, let me just close this. I saw a message come through. So we've got 3 different breakouts set up at the moment. Nicole, can you just explain what we've got?
Yep, so we have 3 breakout rooms and currently there's 3 schools per breakout room, except for one that just has 2 schools in those breakout rooms. So if you have any trouble dropping out or communicating, we recommend just discussing either in the chat or in the WhatsApp group, and then just, continuing that conversation, keeping it rolling.
Great. We're going to give you a good bit of time to do this because it's going to take maybe a bit of time thinking and then a bit of time talking. So it's 3:33 now. So we're going to aim for 3:53 when we start to bring you back together as a group. Remember that you can always be reflecting on these on your own if you don't have a partner school or it drops out, as Nicole said, or even just with a buddy teacher that you've got at your school, just talking through these. Use this time to check in with these questions and to continue your planning so you can keep going with your action research. This is all about progress. So if you've got something that you need to share with your team about the changes that you've made, the progress that you've made, this is the first opportunity to do that. All right, we're going to open the breakouts. And you need to be ready to connect with some of your colleagues and some of the other schools. We'll see you back here very, very soon. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed having some reflection time. I know we've had some connection issues. I know that Mount Hagen are also with us, so welcome. Welcome everybody. If you've just joined us, we're thinking about right now, we're going to take some responses in the chat. And we're going to think about the question that's on the screen. What impact have you noticed? So what you're going to do now, if you're the keyboard captain, if you're in charge of typing in, then you're going to answer this question, just this question on its own, in the chat. You might say, I tried this and this is the impact I saw. So feel free just to kind of explain the thing that you're trying. But I'd like you now to write in the chat the impact that you have noticed as you've been trying some of these ideas. Okay. So we're going to give you a bit of room to do that now. So keyboard captains, get your fingers warmed up. Take some ideas. You might listen to one person and then write that idea up and then listen to the next person. You don't have to write it all in one go. So I'm going to open the chat up in here. If you can't access it on Google Chat, you could do the same thing in WhatsApp as well. So if you want to do it on your mobile phone, what impact have you noticed? Okay, so everybody should be writing in the chat now. Okay, thank you, Bettina, who's shared about confidence in their students. So they're presenting information using PowerPoint, which is great. Girls taking responsibility to step up and lead. Yes, thank you. Passam National High School, appreciate that. So remember, we're looking for that impact signal. Like, what is it that's changing? What is it that you've noticed? Just maybe 1 or 2 more minutes just on this, and then we're going to be moving on. So get your ideas in there. If somebody said that you've had a go at doing something, now's the time to maybe share some of the initial results. Cedric, thank you for sharing your ideas and your team around you. So you've noticed students building confidence, enjoying participating in group learning, which shows learning's taking place. Thank you. So it sounds like somebody's had a go at organizing some collaborative learning. That was one of our efforts, wasn't it? Engineer collaborative learning. So when we're in groups, there's a different energy about learning, isn't there? It's different than just having a task that's on my own. Cedric, thank you for sharing and typing in the chat the impact that you've noticed. Vanamo Secondary, I can see you've written something too. Notice students are, oh, that's skip. Students are beginning to think for themselves. Yeah. When we're hands-on and we're encouraging that growth mindset one about just being really positive and making an effort, you know, encouraging effort and praising effort is something that's so important. Contributing more ideas. These are great. I can see some initial impact already, which is lovely to see. So Kuna George, we provided avenues for female students to actively participate in class. We have identified that they have great potential. Yeah. Openly discussing and expressing themselves. Excellent. So we're inviting them in. We're giving them a clear way to do that. And maybe you'll look for how confident they feel, how much they want to participate in the future, how much they step up. Richard's saying that more students willing to participate, coming with creative presentations, more confident. These are great. Thank you so much for sharing. We're going to look out for these as they, you know, as if you're still typing. So feel free to finish off what you've got, put it in there. We'll capture it. We're going to keep these. I just want to share. I'm just going to come off the screen for a second so you can see my face. We're kind of staring at this little slide. All right, everyone. Just remember, we're 1 week in. Okay. Just remember, we're 1 week in, and we've got 2 more weeks to keep making changes. So don't worry. Don't worry. There's more to go. There's more time. So it is great to see some initial impact, but the job isn't done yet. So I'm just encouraging you not to think that we are done. Even if, you know, if you've tried something, really what we're doing is we're trying to keep working through that cycle. We're trying to notice something else. We're going to try and adapt our idea. And that's really going to be something that you do across the next couple of weeks. So it's not just a one-time thing. It's maybe a try. For example, if I took some of the, if we provide avenues for female students to participate in class, like you do that in one way, and then you see the result, and you say, oh, okay, that didn't quite work, but let's try something else that's doing something similar. Does that work better? Great, let's maybe try that again. Try it in a different class, and just keep building up that understanding of the impact. So I encourage you to keep working through these ideas, keep testing them. Thank you so much for those people that have shared your ideas in the chat. Thank you to those also in the WhatsApp, just in getting in there. So I'm going to move us on to our next reflection activity. Maybe I can see if I've got everybody with me. We've got a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs there. Oh, I can see you. Come on, where's the there we go. We're alive. I know it's the end of the day. I can see you. All right. So we're going to move on to our next reflection activity. Now, I'm trying to also build in some little things that you can do with your students. Don't forget, when you look at your workbook, some of these activities you can take and do with your next class as well. And this next one is called compass points. Okay? And we're going to look at the compass points activity. And it's a really, really good reflection tool that we can use. I'm going to just go to this next part of my slides, and then you can see. So in your workbook, you're probably looking, let's see if we can find where we are. It's just, yeah, there it is. Okay, page 16 in your workbook. Okay, you can literally see a little compass. And it's also page 15 as well, which has got the instructions. And we're going to be looking at the 4 points of our compass. And you can adapt this to your class, to your content really easily. Let me share my screen, and you'll be able to see what we're focusing in on. So this is progress reflection number 2. Still can't join. Jeffrey's still having trouble. So let's just encourage those in the chat. So we are moving on to page 15 and 16. It's a good reminder for all of us that our workbook is our workshop. Okay, so you work through it. You know, if it drops out, keep working through the different steps in the instructions. So let's talk about compass points. There are 4 points of a compass, and the N, S, E, and W all can stand for different things in this reflection. And your questions that you're going to think about now are these on the screen. And I'm also going to I'm going to drop them in the chat as well. So you've got them on your phone. Somebody said earlier that it's really helpful to have them there. So if you've got your mobile phone, then there they are. All right, so the W stands for worries. The N stands for need. The E stands for excites. And the S stands for step. So north, south, east, and west. Let's look at these questions. This is your next reflection, okay? Remember, you're going to be in your breakout groups again, okay? So we're going to move again to breakouts, and you're going to have a go at doing that together with other people. So first of all, for this project, this action research project, what worries you about this? What's the downside? Is there anything that you're a little bit concerned about? Next question. What else do you need to know or find out? Is there something missing? Maybe you want to find out more or learn more so that you can do something else. So N for need. The third question. What excites you about what you have learned? What's the upside? So what's exciting so far? Maybe it's something to do with you're implementing the idea. Maybe it's the reaction of your students. Whatever it might be, for that question, you're thinking about what you're excited about. And then the last question, what is your next step? Or what suggestions do you have? So where do you go from here? North, south, east, and west. What's your next step? So those are the 4 questions, and I put them also in a little table on the next one. Look at that. That's a bit fancy, isn't it? Look at it. There's our compass points. And you could do this with you could have 4 Post-it notes, and you write those 4 questions, and that's what you have to do as your reflection. This might be a nice way you build up some reflection with your students about a particular idea or a particular project. If you're doing a big project with your students, this is really a great way to check in with them about how they're feeling. And that's what we're doing now. All right, everyone. We're going to go to another breakout session. And in this breakout session, you are going to be following these instructions here. You're going to be answering those 4 questions that we've just looked at. All right, Nicole, how are we doing for breakouts? Are we good for breakouts? Great. So we're going to open those rooms. Please click to join the breakout and have a discussion and make some notes about your different questions. Hello, hello. You went to breakout rooms, you came back, everybody's okay. There's even a few smiles. I can see that, which is lovely. So compass points, hi. Waves and thumbs up. Remember compass points. So you could use that, north, south, east, and west, as a way to do some reflection. You've got a big project going on with your students, then maybe you could use that as a way for them to do some reflection. You know, another nice way I've seen it done is actually you have 4 different places in your room. Maybe you're outside and you do 4 different stations. Maybe they are actually, you go north and south, you find out the direction, and the students have to move and then write a reflection and answer a question and post it up, and then they move to the next station and they go around the different compass points to do that. So they're moving, and it's just a different way of doing it than just looking at some paper, looking at the questions. So compass points, have a go at thinking about how could you use that in your practice? How could you use that reflection tool? Okay, everybody, we are rapidly moving towards the end of our session for today. And I've got a couple of key things I want to be able to share with you as we finish. Actually, just before we get there, can I just say a big thank you to everybody again for making the effort, managing the in and out connection. I'm looking at your team, Jeffrey. I know that you've been moving around a bit. I know that's challenging. Hopefully you can see in the WhatsApp where we are and try to keep pace with things. But I'm grateful for your effort. I'm grateful for you dedicating this time to your learning and trying to overcome those challenges so that you can really focus on getting better. Let's talk about the next few weeks, because, and I know that you're going to be sad, but there's no workshop next week. I know, it's all right. Don't get too upset. You're going to miss us. I know. But there's not a workshop next week. We have a workshop in 2 weeks' time. Okay? So we're going to have some time sharing in 2 weeks' time. So what that means for you is that you have got time to keep applying and using your strategies. Take your micro strategy and keep using it in your classroom, collecting data, looking at what impact it has. I want you to keep using the time to work on those strategies. It's really important that you use the next couple of weeks to do that. And we've got some resources in your workbook towards the end, which are going to really help towards the end of our project together. Because really, we've only got like a few weeks to go until we're finishing up. So I'm just going to zoom out on here and see if I can share with you our final little bit. So what I'd like you to do is to move on in your workbook. There's the compass points, kind of, you can use that little template. There's an example. Here we go, before the final workshop. So yes, I've written in here, like, yes, we only have one session left. So this page here are some instructions for this last part towards the end. I'm not going to go into everything today, and some of these instructions you'll see in the WhatsApp group coming up in the next couple of weeks. The most important thing is probably step number 1 there. It says, continue trying your micro strategy. Make observations, collect data. That's the thing that you've got to keep doing. All right? So just keep going with that work. Then you're going to be thinking about some of these bigger questions about success and data and blocks that you've had, maybe how you're going to improve the changes that you make, and then a bigger reflection. Across the next couple of weeks, there's going to be reminders in the WhatsApp chat, and you're also going to be using this as a way to bring some of that work together. But don't worry for now. Some of this work will feed this in via the WhatsApp, and you'll see it kind of coming in. Really, for you, the next key thing is just to keep trying your micro strategy. So step number 1. All right. I apologize. We are already over time. Well, what I would like, I can see some of your chat as well as some of your feedback from that Compass Points tool, which is great. I'm going to close our session. Okay. So let's just drop out of the workbook and you can see us all. Once again, just a big thank you to everybody for joining us today, for committing to this professional learning. It was lovely to see some of the comments coming in about the impacts that you are already having. Those little changes that you're making has the potential to have a really big impact on some of your students' lives. Don't forget that. Even though it's micro, it can have a big change. So don't forget that. Those small changes can make a big difference. So I'm really grateful to see some of that story coming out. Your job now is to keep going. And I'm looking forward to kind of learning how that continues to develop across the next few weeks. All right. Well, thanks again. Thank you to Sophie and Nicole and the rest of the team, Junior and Mehdi. I'm not sure if Mehdi's with us today, but a big kind of thank you to everybody who's been helping. Also to the coaches. Coaches, thank you if you've been supporting your colleagues, and everybody else who's just been helping kind of make today happen. Really grateful. All right. We'll see you soon. In 2 weeks' time, we'll be having some time together, okay? So thank you, and enjoy the rest of your evening.